I hit. Welcome to another episode of Becoming a Techno Wizard. And today, that's nice. Just keep that going. Ooh, that was nice. I'm not gonna lie. So today we're gonna get into my back into the business stuff. Try to figure out this question, this research question I have that I want to do for my research plan to base my entire research plan off of. So we left off of my assumptions and kind of started playing around with some of the questions and other things I'd ask. But let's go back to that research question because I had a great meeting with Michelle Ronson from the Ask Like a Pro kind of class I was taking for research. And she helped me to kind of see how to think about creating a research question, how to keep it, how to narrow it down, how to make it specific. How about specific? And to make sure that we're, you know, have something that is cohesive but actionable and things like that. So, anyways, 15 minutes. Let's go. So, I'll show you what I have here. Played around with a lot of different things here. Um, so I basically kind of explained to her what I was trying to do, and we got a number of different like iterations of this. I'm going to go through some of these. What people are doing to become, what are people doing to become more self-actualized, and how can this be improved? Kind of built on that to say what people are to see what people are doing to improve their education and security in regards to their self-safety, self-love, and self-esteem. How can this be improved? So as you see, we're trying to be more specific about what I mean by self-actualize. Trying to see what to improve, how to improve it, and things like that. And then eventually got down to something like this: what inspires, motivates, or catalyzes depressed people to improve their self-safety, self-love, and self-esteem? How might we provide them with better, more actionable, targeted, personalized, curated resources? That's a lot, I know, but again, want to be more specific. Then we got to this. This one's pretty good. How might we provide better, more actionable, and targeted, personalized, curated resources to address depression in the tweens? This is not like who I'm going to be focusing on, but the point here is that she wanted to be specific about the type of the people I want to start with. Yes, ideally, I want this to be something everybody can use, right? Because everybody has their own problems and things that they're trying to go through. But I need to start with a audience that I can start with. Um, she says it somewhere here, narrow down to very specific niche. If you can solve for one or niche, however you say it, it's easier to branch out and solve for others. Solve for too many at once and you may be drowning. So that's why it's important to get that down. So I was thinking about, I was talking with somebody else who's interested in helping out with with this research, and we were talking about how the college age might be a good way to start. You can look at two different segments: people in college and people out of college. Furthermore, low income people. I already expressed that I want to start there anyway, so I think that's good for me. But to specify that more, we can say um, self people who self-identify as low income. Why? Because low income itself, like I said before, it's kind of nebulous, right? Even though it seems very clear cut, like there's a poverty line number in the U.S. and there's people that fall below it, but there are plenty of people who are, like I said, I'm pretty sure I mentioned before in other videos, who might make a good amount of money that's above the poverty line, but still live paycheck to paycheck due to their high standard of living or things like that. Um, but I think I want to start with people who self-identify as low income, and maybe I can augment that with the poverty line level, which states that if you make this amount of money, like 20,000 a year, and you have two people or whatever in your household, you're below the poverty line, right? So I want to start with that, because these people will have less opportunities, for help in general. First degree, we talked about this right here: first degree immigrants, second degree college students, and so on and so forth. Because I was thinking about, again, to kind of specify it some more, what are the demographics, right? it's easy to kind of, for me to kind of go into personal people of color, right? To start there. That's where I wanted to start with, because that's the people I personally have access to most directly. But as I was talking with this person, who is not a person of color, they're like, okay, what does that entail? Right? It's a very wide, kind of market. And I didn't want to just say black people or white people or anything like that, because like, as my personal values and just like my philosophy on life is that race doesn't really describe people well. It's not a good demographic. And it just supports racism. So what I really want to do is get down to communities, right? Like, for instance, first degree immigrants and second degree immigrants, these have a specific, kind of issue or problem or experience in America and in much of the world, is that, especially in America, first degree immigrants, kind of tend to have higher levels of entrepreneurship, but also higher levels of kind of issues with cultural clashing, and have a fundamental um, kind of problem with going to therapy and things like this, right? Using those types of valuing mental health, right? And that's across the board with the many types of immigrants, whether it's Asian immigrants or Haitian, like my family, or Indian or whatever, right? A lot of these immigrants coming from other places have that thing against mental health. We can probably get into why at a later date, but the thing that is the pattern is that it is, or the thing is that it is a pattern that I want to, kind of be cognizant of. And that's kind of who I want to start with, because if you, if your family already has, you know, or if your family is open to going to therapy, right, then you inherently have more opportunities than the people who live and are raised in a family is not open to therapy, who does not talk about mental health issues, right? So if you have depression, anxiety, whatever, right, and your family can take you to therapy, boom, you're already a step ahead of people who, are raised in a family like me, who may have mental health issues, and you never get to talk about it because your family is just not in the in the conversation, right? So you have no recourse for getting diagnosed. Like, that's why I have no idea if I really have ADHD, because that's just not in the conversation growing up. And I don't even know how to go about getting diagnosed. I've tried to Google some things, and it's difficult to be like, I don't know what to trust. Like, I don't know where to go and all this other stuff. So it's very hard. And so I recognize that in myself, and I've seen that in other, immigrant families. So that's why I want to, look at that. I'm not sure if it really matters between first degree and second degree, but there is a difference. First degree immigrants like my parents, they very much focused on, you know, getting started, right? Getting into the kind of getting opportunities, starting a business, whatever. This is why, first degree immigrants tend to start more businesses, because they come from a different place, who they were struggling or whatever. They come here for more opportunities. But second degree, like myself, already born here, parents were here, but the parents, may have lived with their parents who were pushing them to do a certain thing, and they realized, oh wow, that's not the way to go. Or they themselves were pushing themselves so hard that they didn't get to enjoy much of life, and they didn't want to repeat that with their kids. They want their kids to kind of enjoy more of life and to have more, kind of mental health, right? So even though there's not a conversation of mental health in second degree immigrants, there tends to be an appreciation for kind of freedom and choice, and kind of doing what you want in life rather than kind of going down this set path. um, it's not always, don't get me wrong, but it tends to be a pattern. And I want to kind of look into that, and maybe start there. It's very specific, so I think that's a good way to start. But it's also very cogent, and it can apply to people who are not in those buckets, but have similar kind of issues. So yeah, college students, non people who are not in college, and so on and so forth. So yeah, explaining that actually allowed me to kind of decide. I think I'm gonna, kind of start there. To be super specific is like second degree immigrants, and that might be a little difficult for some people to kind of be like, oh, am I a second degree immigrant? So I might have to specify that when I actually ask my pre-screen survey, like, did your parents move here? Were your parents born here? and were you born here, right? I think that's the kind of the best way to see that. But anyways, let's go. So how might we provide more actionable? I'm going to stick at that because I can add all of this in there. But I'm going to stick at actionable uh, resources for second degree immigrants living below poverty line in And I want to, the reason why I want to say with America, because that's just who I have access to. Um, but I don't want to go too specific. Like she mentioned, hey, you can maybe go to like, a specific community like Atlanta, Chicago, whatever. Right. But I don't want to do that because number one, I don't have ready access to a specific community. Community I have access to kind of just lives all around, America. Some, Canada and stuff like that, but mostly America. And furthermore, I don't want to. I don't think there's a purpose. Like I don't think it's useful in this case, in my research case. Like sometimes it is useful to go down to that location, but for this, it doesn't really matter because what I'm really looking at, and this is what I need to clarify too, is I want to provide these people resources, like digital resources, like online resources, because I mentioned this before, and the constraints, but like I'm not going to be able to help people with housing, with food and things like that. I can help people with getting access to better information, right? And that's where I want to start. So more actionable online maybe accurate online resources for second degree immigrants living below the poverty line in America. College age. And again, I'm starting with that group because it's easiest to start with for me. And young people have a specific, again, have that specific problem of they're in that nexus between kind of getting into their own life where they have to make those choices for themselves, but not knowing where to go or who to contact. I think older people have a similar problem, but they have it's augmented by family responsibilities, like maybe because they have kids or they have a greater network they can use, or they have more resources because they've been in the job place for so long, so they know how to maneuver healthcare to find therapists or to find whatever, right? Like young people are less likely to have healthcare, or at least know how to use healthcare to find those sorts of resources and things like that. So yeah, I think this might be a good kind of space to start. Super specific here. I need to be better with this, like what I mean by resources. More actionable, online, accurate resources for, and this is where it gets tricky too, like we said here, self-actualization. What we really mean here, what I want to see here is to help people with, this feeling of safety, of love, or self-esteem, things like that, right? Um, Mental health, maybe. It's not quite that. That's why, because I don't like to use the term mental health in this case because, mental wellness is a kind of better term, because mental health kind of gets you to thinking that I'm trying to go for people who have, mental health issues or conditions or things like that, right? Where I'm more so trying to get to helping people to find information that is helping them be, everything from more resilient, more accountable, more productive, more uh, anti-fragile, all these types of things where, and the reason is because like, this is my journey, right? This is how I kind of helped myself get through depression and anxiety and, insecurity and things like that. It was more than just that mental health aspect. It was everything else. right? And I've put together an entire library. Like I have a whole pocket, a whole, a whole database of things I've been saving over the years that are really helpful. And I've shared it with people every now and then. And it was like, oh wow, this is great. So I want to do more of that. I wanted to share more of that out and get people more access to this information. And again, the ultimate goal is to, I should probably shouldn't get into this. Almost done with this episode, but yeah, we'll focus on this. I want to get more specific with the resources aspect, but I think this is a good place to start. How might we provide more actionable, accurate online resources for dealing with mental wellness for college-age, second-degree immigrants living below the poverty line in America? And maybe a good way to specify is that so that they can blah, 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 right? So that they can live more self-fulfilling lives. Oh, there's time right there. But yeah, this is just going into S.B. Kaufman's, theory of or integrated revised Maslow's hierarchy of needs. So have a stable. I got to go back in his book and see the terms he used for this, because I think that's very important. It's not exactly this, but I'm going to put this here for now. Have a stable base of safety, connection, and esteem. Leading to openness to experiences, love, being, and purpose. i.e. healthy transcendence. Again, this is just an ugly way just to be very specific about what I'm going for, what I'm looking to do. I'm gonna clean all this up to make it kind of read better and fit all this up into a nice little overview. But yeah, I think that's a good way to kind of start or to refine what I already had. And yeah, thanks as always for watching. I hope you learned something, even though it's just messing around. But thanks as always. Have a great day. See ya. Bye bye.